Very good morning to you all. Today's President of the function, Professor K.M. Hanumantrayappa, Honorable Shri H.K. Patil, who will be delivering the keynote address, G.D. G. Dakshinamurthy, the Director of KILPA, distinguished audience, which includes former legislator, academicians, and law students. Though I would have wished there were more legislators, if not the present ones who are busy otherwise, at least the past ones to be here, because it's a topic which I am sure, if not close to them, at least they should learn about something about the topic of the day. It's rather very interesting to note in a country which has had democracy for over 50 years, that now we must think in terms of strengthening the democratic process of lawmaking. For 50 years we have had democracy. 50 years we have followed a constitution which can be second to none in this world. Our constitution says that the country, the government is for the people, by the people, and of the people. It has very many meanings in it, The best of it is that we are being governed by ourselves. Of course, every one of us cannot sit in the legislature and govern ourselves in the sense, I'll come to what governance really is. But our representatives go and represent us in the legislature. They are supposed to inform the other legislators over there, whichever party they belong to, what are the needs of his constituency people, what is their desire, and what they look forward to. It's a very good process, provided the ones who represent us in the legislature are the true representatives of the constituency. In an adult franchise where first one to reach the post is the winner, is he the true representative of the people, of that constituency? But even people with 25% vote can be the elected person. Does he represent the views of everybody in that constituency? More so, our political system is a multi-party system which has its own agenda. Each party has its own agenda. Does he, the elected representative, speak for the people of his constituency, or does he speak only for his party? With the anti-defection bill, with the powerful whip in the hand of the party, does he even represent his own views? Or does he represent the view of a political party as a whole? He has no right to speak on the topic unless his party permits him to speak. He has no right to speak against the resolution or the bill unless the party permits. So ultimately what it boils down to is, it is the political party which has the majority, which, as is happening, may not be one-party majority, multi-party majority, which ultimately decides the fate of the entire state or the country. Is there a true representation of the will of the people? Can it be said that the representatives in the houses of legislature really represent the views of the people? Consequently, are the laws made by the legislature do really respect the requirement of the people who have sent their representatives to the legislature? A very big question, ladies and gentlemen. We may have to think much more deeply into it. I have not made a research study on it. I'm sure there are people who are resource persons who may be able to answer this question of mine. So I start my inaugural address by referring to this, that does our democracy permit a representative rule which truly reflects the will of the people. I say it in a context that quite often we hear that it is the representatives, elected representatives, who are the true leaders of the people, who speak for the people, and who get the will of the people implemented. Well, they may say so, but I have other views in the matter. I'm not for a moment saying that any other organs of the Constitution is also doing something better than that. No, I will refer to them briefly too. We speak of democratization or strengthening the system which is supposed to be there in lawmaking process. What does our Constitution and the parliamentary laws contemplate the procedures and steps to be taken when a law is made? Is everybody who represents or who is responsible for making this law competent enough to speak on every one of the law that is being made? There are fiscal laws, there are commercial laws, there are laws which control the interstate relationship, there are laws which control the inter-country relationship, there are various types of social laws are there. When these laws are made, are people's view taken note of? Of course, one school of thought may say that in a country which is largely illiterate, what does it matter? How many of them really know the effect of law? Therefore, some social law which gives them some relief for the time being should keep them quiet. Is that enough? Does it really represent their views in the matter pertaining to their everyday life? We have laws made as far back as 200 years back, like the Penal Code. It has stood the test of time. Our Constitution, which is hardly about 50 odd years old, has been almost nearing 100 amendments. It's good, because as we grow, a country which was under the domination of a foreign rule, when it takes over the reins, it has to learn a lot. Maybe these changes or often made amendments are necessary. But many of them have become necessary because we have not followed the correct principle or the procedure in making the laws. That is why I find in one of the notes given to me that it says that is every section of the society is consulted when a law is made? Answer certainly is no. Maybe a superficial discussion takes place. Let's say, speak in terms of fiscal laws, the laws pertaining to finances of this country, the taxes in this country. Are we thinking only in terms of revenue to the state? Or are we also thinking in terms of the capacity of the taxpayer? Have we taken those people into confidence? Again, we do take some the people do make some consultation with the FICCI or some of those sophisticated organizations, which is again vested interests are representing those organizations. No, that cannot be the position. There should be a widespread consultation. If there is going to be a law that is going to be made and you want that law to be there for some time to come, then there should be discussion. Take everybody into confidence. Then take an overall view of the views expressed by the people. I'm sure many law students, law teachers, and others, apart from the ones who will be affected by the law, will be able to contribute what should be the content of that law. The content of the law is the most important thing. We must think in terms of pros and cons, both ways. Then alone the law becomes effective. Otherwise, the very next day you will propose an amendment to that law. So much so, you will be transferring this law in the hands of the executive, who will then make their own interpretation, how to interpret and how to apply this law. I'm sure the legislators will have sufficient experience, the manner in which the executive have interpreted and handled the laws made by them. Have they always kept the philosophy or the object behind the lawmaking process which was prevailing in the mind of the legislature? I doubt very much. Under the Indian Constitution, the three organs, that is the legislature, the executive and the judiciary, have been specifically assigned certain roles to play. That role actually, though not in writing it is a separate organization playing separate roles. The legislature is supposed to make laws. The executive is to implement the laws. And if there is any dispute between the things, then it's for the judiciary to decide the laws. Judiciary under the Indian Constitution has also been given the ultimate right to interpret the laws and not make the laws. I'll speak a little bit about that also. Now, to see that the bureaucracy, which is really far away from the masses, the realities of the life and society, implement the laws in the manner in which the legislature intended, we adopted a cabinet system of government. Now, all of us know cabinet consists of members of both the houses. They are present at the time when the law is made. They know what was discussed in the parliament. That's again a big if at all they were there. And they, the cabinet members, supervise the executive implementing these policies and the laws made by the legislature in the manner in which it was contemplated in the House. But over the years, things have changed. The cabinet, which was only a bridge between the legislature and the executive, has become a superhighway today. Practically making use of the business rules, Article 66 and 177 if I am correct, the rules of business are made in such a manner that ultimate decision is that of the representative of the legislature who is in the cabinet. Even in governance, not only in implementation of the laws, even in governance. When that system prevails, please note what happens is the accountability is lost. Most of you law students would have noticed if you go to a high court and see a writ petition being argued, party to the petition is not a minister. Party to the petition in most of the cases is the chief secretary or the secretary. So who becomes accountable? A tool in the hands of the cabinet becomes accountable for that. But I must say here, without fear of contradiction or any opposition, I've said this in the meeting of bureaucrats themselves, they have succumbed and they have given their right to administer this country or to govern this country to the cabinet for various reasons. Reasons mainly because of selfishness. What they get out of that surrender. No democracy can really function truly and independently when any of the organs of the Constitution, the three recognized organs, becomes totally subservient to another organ. Think of a day when the judiciary has to ask the cabinet or the legislature, how shall I decide this case? Will there be democracy left? Or think of a day, which is happening very frequently, about which again I'll refer to a case, that's why I have brought the decision. When the judiciary makes a law, and some of them are generous enough to say, this will be in force until the parliament or the legislature makes another law. Do they have constitutional right to do that? Some of them don't even have the courtesy. They say this is the law. In the guise of interpretation, they will totally rewrite the law. I've been a judge of the Supreme Court. I never believed in this concept at all. There's an old saying that the judiciary is like Lord Shiva. The judiciary only destroys a law if it is opposed to the constitution. It's not like Brahma doesn't create a law. Brahma is the legislature. This difference has been forgotten today in the judiciary. Why? It's all because certain loose ends in the system is not tightened at the time. Stitch in time saves nine, people say. If you find a loose end either in the functioning of the legislature or in that of the executive, then if you tighten it, the judiciary would not have ventured to come out to make laws. It's in the guise of public interest. Because the other organs of the Constitution have failed, we have intervened. There are some cases which are popular cases which strengthens their argument. The Delhi pollution case. Talk today of anything in this, what's the judiciary's role in governance? Delhi pollution. See Delhi, 10 years back, it was so polluted. The international statistics showed it is the most polluted city in the world. But see today, because of elimination of diesel and introduction of LPG by judge-made law, it's a very clean city. Maybe that one good is never a precedent. It's like injecting penicillin to all the ailments. When it becomes immune, then you'll realize. Therefore, there should be a check there also. But what is the real democratic system which we are today discussing to strengthen when a law is made? Ultimately, law is a restriction on individuals' desire to act in a particular manner. It is a statute which normally restrains. Therefore, first of all, we must identify that class of people who are likely to be affected by the lawmaking process. There should be consultation, if not with the actual person who is incapable of communicating with you his problems, his true representatives. Discuss this with experts who are independent people and take it further. Then the Constitution, the legislative procedure itself has an in-house mechanism. The select committee and the other committees are there. They will have to discuss the matter. They will have to proceed and think whether these laws will really work or not. Thereafter, it is sent to the legislature. In the legislature, there should be some serious discussions because many of these members of the legislature would have been parties to the consultation at the ground level. Whether the law made is in the four corners of the Constitution, then he grants assent to the law that is made. But in reality, together, put in a house which has a bare minimum quorum, where people have just come in time to sign their attendance, raise their hand, aye, go out, law is made. This is what we have to discuss today. Is this a procedure? Is the law to be made? Is this a procedure people in a democratic country should accept? Or else, what should be the remedy for it? I'm making an offhand suggestion, subject to many other experts who may speak in the sessions that is following. Either the quorum number should be increased, the duration of participation should be fixed for each bill, and the speech of the members made there should be recorded and circulated in their respective constituencies. We hear of members of parliament who have never attended but except the minimum number of days. Maybe similar thing is happening in the legislature. We have members of the Rajya Sabha who have never spoken a word or two, maybe even in the parliament. Still they want to be there. How they have become and elected is everybody's guess here. If such people are representing us and parties to law-making process, and it's a successful popular law, everybody say, I was there when the law was made and all. But if you see the attendance register, you'll know whether he was there or not. This is the seriousness with which the law is made. And today's seminar is a consequence of such seriousness on their part. Therefore, my request for you for today's seminar is to discuss these aspects of the role of the elected representatives. Scan it in the manner whether they are the true representatives. Does the lawmaking process has had sufficient consultation with the people who are really affected by the lawmaking process? If so, what is that we have to do in this matter? This is one aspect of the matter. The other aspect of the matter, which is somewhat worrying me even as a former judge, I was a judge for a very short period of 6.5 years only, but I learned a lot and I consider that was the best part of my professional